The way Boyhood Shadows came about was that a few years ago I went to a conference for the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, and I was going to do a presentation on male sexual victimization. I told the men in the men's group at the Monterey Rape Crisis Center, where I run those groups, that I want to give them a personal message from the group, because people who hear me speak learn quite a bit, and they get a feel for what I do and the kind of things the patients go through and all. However, there's nothing like hearing from an actual victim survivor to really get a feeling. So the men first were a little baffled. Why would we do this? Why do you need to tell these people? Aren't they all therapists? Aren't they all sexologists? Don't they all know this stuff? And I explained to them, no, that actually it still is a relatively rare issue to be discussed in professional circles. The general public still does not know a lot about it, and it would be very useful. We really needed to make sure that our number one goal for making the public service announcement and the documentary was that nobody was harmed in the process, and it was a good healing experience for everybody who was involved. Working with the Macaneva Motion Picture Company, which is Steve Rosen and Terry DeBono, we were able to bring guys back who had not been in the group for as much as 10 years, because they all understood this was an important cause. And they came forward and we did the filming. We had our executive director's son be the only child in the film, and that was important because we wanted to show a little boy and then transition into adulthood. And we knew we couldn't find an actual sexual abuse victim, survivor child and expect to know that in 10, 20 years from now it would be okay that we made a film or a public service announcement with him in it. So that was the only actor, so to speak, was our executive director's son. We had 3 basic goals from it. After do no harm, and make sure it was a healing thing, but to put it out there, we wanted to see if we could reach one man, bring one guy in who's out there suffering, let him know we do have a group, that men can and do heal from sexual victimization, and get him on board. We also wanted to see if we could convince one therapist to start a group somewhere in the country, because at the time we started our group, it was so rare. Back in '93 when we started this group, it was estimated that we were one of maybe 4 or 5 in the entire world. Very, very rare group. And we also decided that we wanted to build upon that. So that was a goal, to educate, to convince, to motivate a therapist. Then the third goal was to see if we could convince one pedophile to think twice before molesting a child again, or somebody who's a pedophile or child molester in the making to think twice before they start down that road. By the time the public service announcement came out and it was aired on local TV, it was a big success. We instantly realized we hit the mark. We immediately had a therapist come forward, and she came up here and trained with me, and now she has been leading a group in Los Angeles where it was so needed. The millions of people in Los Angeles, thousands of therapists, and there wasn't one single group for men who had been sexually abused as children. So that happened. We had a flood of callers coming in saying, I saw the public service announcement, I need to be in your group. And that was really, really helpful. As far as reaching pedophile or child molester, we could only guess at that moment. However, I do work a little bit with child molesters too, and some of them came in and they did mention that they saw it. So perhaps we reached our goal with that. People started coming up to me and the other men in the group, and strangers on the street, they'd see us at farmer's market or something, and tears would be welling in their eyes, and arms reached out and thanking us so much for what we did. We knew we were hitting the mark. From there we went on and started filming the documentary, and the documentary was a much bigger project than we ever expected. It took up a lot of our time. What we did was we sat down with the filmmakers and we told them what our goals were, and they were essentially the same goals as the public service announcement, but bigger. So we gave them some names, said, okay, we'd like you to film our group. We'd also like you to film some of the experts around the country. Don't just film me. They thought that was a good idea. And they went filming, and they followed some of us, and they came into our groups, and bit at a time we would monitor the progress. We started to like it, and we started to like it more, and we saw some interesting twists that we never expected, that they're going to go down that road now or this road, and we kept following it. In the meantime, we kept getting media coverage, which is part of what we do at the Rape Crisis Center. We need to get the message out there. No matter how many times the group has been written up in the local newspapers, no matter how many times I've mentioned it in chapters I've written for books, no matter how many times we've been on TV, we need to keep doing it. Within 2-3 weeks, as soon as the story comes out, there are people who don't know anything about it, and we need to educate them. The issue is not done. So we were very lucky along the way that the local media, the television stations in particular, followed the story. We had a few spots on TV where they came, they interviewed myself, some of the men, they showed the progress. 1 half-hour television interview with myself, one of the men in the group, and our executive director aired too. And that was all about the making of the public service announcement, which was then out, and the making of the documentary, which we were then working on. Along the way, we realized we're just about done, and it's time to start launching it. And where we wanted it to go was, in particular, we wanted to go to sex therapists and psychotherapists, rape crisis centers across the country. We had already distributed thousands of our public service announcements for free to people. We had aired it at conferences and workshops, and people were so appreciative. It meant so much healing to people and giving them tools to educate their own clients about this. So we knew we wanted to go there. We also wanted to reach the entire population if possible, and to my surprise, the little movie theaters are not the best venue for that. That the filmmakers convinced us the best thing to do is try to get into the film festivals, and from there on to HBO if we can, or something like that. And so at this point, we just had our grand premiere showing. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. We had the mayor come, a senator who's working on bills trying to change the statute of limitations so that people who are molested as children, when they grow up, can still go after the pedophile or child molester. We had about 450 people from the community show up, and the film was very well received. We've submitted to Sundance Film Festival, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for that one. And our guess is that if we can do well there, then HBO will buy it, and that's what we'd like to see. Like to have them air it to the general public, and we follow through with our goal to distribute it directly for free to therapists, to sexologists, to those who are in the trenches doing the work.